Welcome to Terran Biology. Beyond the classification system, Sarah Martinez, the sole human student in the Galactic Federation University's prestigious biology program, took a deep breath. Standing before a lecture hall packed with alien students, from crystalline to gaseous forms, she prepared for her first special seminar. As requested by the faculty committee, we'll begin with some of Earth's plant life, Sarah announced, trying to ignore the fact that even the maintenance droids had paused their duties to watch. A collective sigh of leafy relief rippled through the audience. Plants were safe. Plants were harmless. Plants just sat there photosynthesizing, right? When plants go, Predatoricera pulled up her first hologram. This is Dionea macipula, commonly known as the Venus flytrap, she said, the image of a plant trap snapping shut in slow motion. Several students visibly flinched. Its leaves are lined with trigger hairs. When an insect touches them, the trap snaps shut in about 1/10 of a second. The plant then secretes digestive enzymes and absorbs the nutrients from its prey. A faculty member raised an appendage. Miss Martinez, are you suggesting that your world's autotrophs have evolved to become predatory? Oh, absolutely, Sarah nodded. We have several genera of carnivorous plants. Pitcher plants drown their prey in digestive fluid. Sundus use sticky tentacles to trap insects, and the bladderwort has the fastest known movement in the plant kingdom. It can suck in prey in less than a millisecond, but they're still rooted in place? Someone asked hopefully. Well, most of them, Sarah replied. Though we do have the walking palm tree, which can essentially walk by growing new roots in the direction it wants to move, while letting its old roots die off. And then there's the strangling fig, which starts life as an epiphyte in the canopy and sends roots down to slowly envelop and crush its host tree. A student near the front began rapidly taking notes. This is fascinating. The aggressive nature of Earth's fauna appears to have influenced even its flora. Exactly, Sarah beamed. Even our grass has evolved to contain silica particles that wear down herbivore teeth over time. And some plants release chemical signals to warn others of danger or to call in predatory insects to defend them. They communicate. The wood, wide web, and stinging horrors. Dian Lumina's light strands flickered with interest. Through chemical signals? Yes, Sarah confirmed. Some trees even share resources through underground fungal networks. We call it the wood wide web. Sarah paused as her translators struggled to convey the pun. Sorry, that's a human joke. The point is, Earth's plants have evolved some pretty incredible survival strategies. She brought up another hologram. This is the Jimpy Jimpy plant from Australia. Its sting is so painful that it can drive animals mad, and has been known to kill horses. The pain can last for months, and there are reports of human soldiers shooting themselves to end the agony. The dean's light strands dimmed noticeably. Miss Martinez, I believe we may need to revise our classification of Earth's plant life as well. These trees and plants of yours seem to be as formidable as your fauna. Oh, wait until you hear about the manchineel tree, Sarah enthused. Its sap can burn through metal, and standing under it during rain can cause chemical burns. Indigenous peoples used to use its sap to poison their arrows. A crystalline student in the front row raised their appendage. Excuse me, but are you saying your species identified these dangerous plants and then deliberately weaponized them? Sarah considered this. Well, yes. Though to be fair, we also learned to use plants for medicine, food, building materials, and countless other beneficial purposes. Humans have a long history of studying our environment and creatively finding ways to use what we learn. Extremophiles and the fungal kingdom, like those water bears you sent to space? Someone called from the back. Exactly, Sarah said. Though speaking of space, Sarah pulled up a new hologram. Let me tell you about some of the extremophile plants we've discovered. There are species that can survive in volcanic hot springs, in Arctic ice, in near total darkness, and even in highly radioactive environments. We're actually studying them to help design better space colonies. The maintenance droids had completely abandoned their tasks now, their optical sensors fixed on Sarah's presentation. One of them was doing what sounded suspiciously like notes in its internal memory for next week's session. For next week's session, Sarah concluded, we'll be discussing Earth's fungal kingdom. Did you know we have a mushroom network in Oregon? That's technically the largest living organism on Earth. It's about 2,385 acres in size, and likely over 8,500 years old. A single organism that large. Dean Lumina's light strands pulsed with excitement. Though remarkable, fungi are peaceful decomposers, yes? Well, mostly. Sarah thought about cordyceps, the zombie ant fungus, and the various other parasitic fungi that had evolved on Earth. Though there are some interesting examples of parasitic relationships that you might find fascinating. Species, for instance, there's this one that infects ants and controls their behavior. As the lecture hall erupted into a new round of questions, Sarah noticed Professor Zix making notes for yet another curriculum. The professor's crystalline structure had taken on a peculiar orange hue that Sarah hadn't seen before, possibly their species' equivalent of existential dread. She decided to wait until next semester to introduce the concept of prehistoric Earth's carnivorous fungi, which had grown to truly massive sizes during the planet's higher oxygen periods. After all, there was only so much paradigm-shifting information her audience could handle in one day. Though she did make a mental note to start preparing them for the eventual discussion of Earth's bacteria and viruses. That lecture might need its own special warning system. Galactic Council concerns. News of Sarah's seminars had spread far beyond the university. The Galactic Federation Science Council had taken a particular interest in her presentations, especially after her lecture on fungi sent 3 crystalline students into temporary hibernation states upon learning about cordyceps. Miss Martinez, Dean Lumina, approached her after the fungal lecture, their light strands shimmering with what might have been concern. While your seminars have been enlightening, the Science Council has requested a more comprehensive understanding of Earth's defensive capabilities. Sarah looked up from her tablet, where she'd been preparing notes on tardigrade's defensive capabilities. But I've just been teaching basic biology. Exactly. The Dean's light strands pulsed rapidly. Your world has evolved organisms that can survive in space, regenerate themselves, control other species' minds, and communicate through underground networks. The Council is concerned about potential military applications. Oh, Sarah laughed. You're worried about bioweapons? Trust me, Earth's natural biology is way more terrifying than anything we could engineer. Did you know we have a snail that shoots venomous harpoons and a sea cucumber that launches its own internal organs as a defense mechanism and then regrows them? The Dean's light strands dimmed noticeably. Perhaps we should discuss this in my office. The Council has some specific questions about something called extremophiles. Extremophiles and high-level scrutiny in the Dean's office. Sarah found herself facing a holographic panel of various alien scientists, their species ranging from gaseous to crystalline to something that appeared to be made entirely of magnetic fields. Miss Martinez began a being composed of interlocking geometric shapes. Your lectures have raised some concerns about Earth's classification as a garden world. We understand you have organisms that can survive in virtually any environment. Well, yes, Sarah nodded. Tardigrades can survive the vacuum of space, radiation, extreme pressure. Temperature ranges from near absolute zero to well above boiling, and complete dehydration. Then there's the Pompeii worm that lives in deep-sea hydrothermal vents at temperatures that would cook most other creatures. And Deinonychus radiodurans can survive radiation levels thousands of times what would kill a human. And these organisms, your species studies them? Thoroughly, of course. They're fascinating, Sarah said. We've learned so much about biology, evolution, and survival mechanisms from them. The implications for space travel alone are incredible. Plus, studying extremophiles has helped us understand how life might exist on other planets. A gaseous being swirled anxiously. You're saying your species actively seeks out the most resilient and dangerous organisms on your planet for research purposes. Well, how else would we learn about them? Sarah shrugged. Though if you think that's interesting, wait until you hear about our microorganisms. We have bacteria that can eat nuclear waste, viruses that can survive in boiling acid, and prions that can fold proteins into new shapes. The geometric being's shapes began rotating rapidly. Dean Lumina, We believe Earth requires a new classification entirely. Any species that evolved alongside such organisms, and then chose to study them rather than flee to another planet, clearly requires special consideration. Hey, humans aren't that tough, Sarah protested. We're actually pretty fragile compared to a lot of Earth life. We just learn to adapt and use our intelligence to survive. Though we did evolve to be persistent predators who can sweat, which lets us basically chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. And we can survive some pretty extreme conditions with the right training, like those monks who can raise their body temperature through meditation, or the free divers who can hold their breath for over 10 minutes. The council members exchanged what appeared to be alarmed glances. Miss Martinez, the dean interjected gently, perhaps we should focus on your next seminar. The faculty committee was hoping for something less concerning, perhaps Earth's insects. Insects, master strategists and hidden horror. Sarah brightened. Oh, great idea. Would you like to hear about the Japanese giant hornet? They can spray flesh-melting venom that also acts as a pheromone marker to summon their entire colony. Or maybe the bullet ant. Their sting is so painful that some indigenous tribes use it in warrior initiation rituals. Or there's the Darwin's bark spider that makes webs 10 times stronger than Kevlar. The council members' various forms of electromagnetic emissions had taken on distinctly distressed patterns. Actually, the geometric being interrupted. We have a more pressing question. Given Earth's apparently hostile biosphere, how has your species managed to achieve spaceflight without carrying these organisms beyond your planet? Sarah thought about the various quarantine protocols, sterilization procedures, and containment systems Earth had developed. Oh, we're very careful about that. We have strict protocols to prevent biological contamination. Though it's interesting you mention it, we've actually been studying how certain organisms might be beneficial for space colonization, like using radiation-resistant bacteria to help shield spacecraft or growing certain fungi to create self-repairing structures. The council erupted into a flurry of alarmed communications in various electromagnetic spectrums. Perhaps, Dean Lumina suggested diplomatically, we should schedule a separate session to discuss Earth space exploration protocols in detail, very specific detail. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. Great idea. I can prepare a presentation on how we've adapted Earth's extremophiles for space research. Did you know we're working on using tardigrade proteins to protect human cells from radiation damage? And there's this fascinating study about using certain bacterial strains to recycle waste in closed systems. As the council members' various energy signatures began displaying signs of what the dean would later describe as collective existential recalibration, Sarah made a mental note to maybe tone down her enthusiasm in the next seminar, though she couldn't help but feel a bit proud. After all, it wasn't every day that a first-year student's biology lectures led to the creation of an entirely new planetary classification system, full Federation membership, and more to Cometh new classification system, as it turned out, was just the beginning. Sarah's next seminar on Earth's insects drew attention from military strategists across the galaxy, particularly after she explained how ants had mastered agriculture, animal husbandry, and chemical warfare millions of years before humans evolved. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. General Vexter of the Galactic Defense Force rumbled from the back of the lecture hall. His metallic exoskeleton gleamed as he consulted his notes. These leafcutter ants maintain fungal gardens, protect them with antibiotic-producing bacteria, and wage war against rival colonies using chemical weapons. That's right, Sarah confirmed, pulling up a hologram of a leafcutter ant colony's internal structure. They've been practicing sustainable agriculture for over 50 million years. They even have waste management systems and designated burial grounds for their dead. Fascinating, the general stated. Sarah finished enthusiastically. Though personally, I find the Australian jumping jacks more interesting. They're ants that can jump up to 4 times their body length, and are so aggressive that they're used to test military hardware's resistance to insect infestation. A strategic analyst in the front row raised a trembling appendage. Miss Martinez, you mentioned earlier that these insects are among the smallest of Earth's macrofauna. Oh. Yes, most insects are quite small, Sarah said. Though we do have the giant weta, which is a cricket that can weigh as much as 3 mice, and the atlas moth has a wingspan of about 30 centimeters. But most insects are tiny, and yet, the analyst continued, their crystalline form flickering anxiously. You claim they're collectively one of the most successful groups of organisms on your planet? Sarah nodded. By biomass, absolutely. For every human on Earth, there are about 200 million insects. Some estimates suggest the total weight of all Earth's ants alone is roughly equal to the total weight of all humans. The lecture hall grew very quiet. But don't worry, Sarah added cheerfully, the insects are harmless to humans. Well, except for the ones that spread diseases, and the parasitic ones, and the ones with medically significant venom. Though we've actually learned a lot from studying their venom components, some show promise as pharmaceuticals. General Vexter's exoskeleton emitted a low hum. Miss Martinez, the Defense Force would be very interested in learning more about these insects, particularly their strategic capabilities and potential applications in various scenarios. Oh. They're amazing. Did you know that honeybees can recognize human faces and do complex mathematics? And they have a democratic system for choosing new hive locations. Though if you're interested in military applications, you might want to hear about the bombardier beetle. It creates a boiling hot chemical spray by mixing reactants in its abdomen. The general's optical sensors broadened. It produces chemical weapons internally. Technically, it's a defense mechanism, Sarah explained, like how the assassin bug wears its victims' corpses as camouflage, or how the ant-lion larvae build pit traps in the sand, or how the glowworm creates sticky fishing lines to catch flying prey in complete darkness. A new voice spoke up from the doorway. I believe we've heard enough. A tall figure composed of pure energy stepped into the lecture hall. I am High Commissioner Radiant from the Galactic Security Council. Miss Martinez, your planet's biological capabilities have attracted significant attention at the highest levels of government. Sarah blinked in surprise. But I haven't even gotten to the really interesting insects yet, like the orchid mantis that evolved to look exactly like a flower, or the caterpillars that disguise themselves as snakes, or the wasps that turn cockroaches into living food sources for their larvae. The High Commissioner's energy field pulls with what might have been concern. Yes, that's exactly why we're here. The Council has decided to fast-track Earth's full Federation membership, effective immediately. Really? Sarah beamed. That's wonderful. Earth scientists will be so excited to collaborate with other worlds. We have so many research projects that could benefit from galactic expertise, like our studies on adapting extremophiles for terraforming, or our work on understanding collective intelligence through ant colony behavior. Or, the Council believes, the Commissioner interrupted smoothly, that it would be in everyone's best interest to closely monitor Earth's science very closely, starting immediately. General Vexter nodded vigorously, his exoskeleton creaking. Indeed. Perhaps we should establish a permanent observation post for scientific purposes. Of course, Sarah agreed. Though you might want to design it carefully. Earth has these amazing termites that can chew through concrete, and some fascinating fungi that can digest radiation, and these bacteria that eat through metal. The High Commissioner's energy field flickered rapidly. Professor Zix, I believe we need to schedule an emergency meeting of the Federation's Xenobiological Defense Committee. Miss Martinez, would you be willing to serve as a consultant? I'd be honored, Sarah said. Should I prepare a presentation on Earth's microorganisms? I've been working on a fascinating overview of prions and their potential applications in protein engineering. The entire room seemed to collectively flinch. Perhaps, the Commissioner suggested delicately, we should start with something simple like your planet's atmosphere composition. Oh, You mean the oxygen-rich atmosphere that allowed insects to grow to giant sizes during the Carboniferous period? Sarah said. Did you know we once had dragonflies with wingspans over 2 feet wide? Some scientists think they might have been able to catch small reptiles in flight. As the High Commissioner's energy field began displaying warning colors, and General Vexter quietly ordered an immediate upgrade to all Federation biocontainment protocols. Sarah couldn't help but smile. She hadn't even started on her presentation about parasites yet, though maybe she should save the part about the tongue-eating louse for after Earth's membership was officially approved. After all, there was such a thing as too much information at once. To be continued.